The year was 2008, and we were all listening to Coldplay's Viva La Vida and Lady Gaga's Poker Face. Indiana Jones had returned to us with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and Michael Jackson was still alive. For those of us still in middle school, the year was going pretty great. But little did we know, the United States was in a pretty bad recession, and unemployment was astronomically high. Your parents may have lost jobs, had to take significant pay cuts, or you may have had to move to more affordable housing. I know this because my dad had to choose between taking a very significant pay cut or losing his job. And unemployment in my county was so high that President Obama came and talked at one of the local high schools. You knew that money was tight, but you probably didn't know why. The answer is, well, the recession that was caused by the inflation and following burst of the housing bubble. Today I would like to further explore this recession, starting with the lending practices that caused the bubble which caused the housing crash, and the housing market crash which caused the recession. First, I assume you aren't all experts on finance, so I'll define a few terms. A mortgage is a loan that you get from the bank to pay for a house. A subprime mortgage is a mortgage that someone who doesn't have a good enough credit score to get a normal mortgage can get. These usually have higher interest rates, but they also have lower down payments. Per capita GDP is the GDP of a country, which is how much money it makes in a year, divided by how many people are in the country. So it's kind of like each person's little share of their nation's wealth. And defaulting is when people stop paying their mortgages, and this usually ends in the bank taking the house away from them. First, dubious lending practices led to a housing bubble. Lenders try to get as many subprime mortgages as possible. This is because realtors wanted to make money based on commissions, so the more houses they sell, the more money they make, causing them to sell houses to people who probably shouldn't have been buying them in the first place. Investment banks were giving out subprime mortgages because they were taking them and packaging them into bonds, which they were selling to investors to make more money. This caused an influx of subprime mortgages, which artificially rose housing prices. According to Arnold King in his article in the Policy Review Political Journal, this comes down to simple economics. Demand is up because more people can get subprime mortgages to buy houses, and supply stays the same. Therefore, our price has gone up. Then, the housing bubble burst, causing the housing market crash. This is due to people defaulting en masse. Subprime mortgages often had teaser rates, so for the first 2 years, people paid less on their mortgage than they would after that. So once those 2 years were up for the majority of people, they started defaulting because they could no longer afford their houses. Peter Wallison, in his article in the Cato Peer Review Journal, said that by June of 2008, 45% of all subprime mortgages had been defaulted on. This caused housing prices to plummet, coming back to basic economics. Supply has gone way up because the banks are trying to sell houses, and demand has gone down because banks are offering less subprime mortgages, causing the value of homes to plummet. Finally, the housing market crash caused the recession. Investment banks lost a significant amount of money, which means goodbye mom and dad's retirement portfolio. So the investment banks had a lot of money in these mortgage-backed bonds, which were now worthless because there was no more mortgage there. So seemingly overnight, Wall Street lost billions of dollars. Banks such as Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, and Merrill Lynch, some of the largest banks on Wall Street, ended up going bankrupt. Individuals were then stuck paying off way more than their house was worth. Someone could have a $500,000 mortgage on a house worth now only $150,000. In discussing this speech with classmates, I found that happened to someone here, and they ended up having to move across state lines. Due to the economy being poor, people then spend less money. Since they spend less money, they buy less things, it takes less people to make things, so people get fired. These people then spend less money, and the cycle continues, raising unemployment. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2007, which is about right there, unemployment was around 5%. Then in 2009, at the peak of the recession, unemployment was over 10%. So as you can see, while it's not quite as high as it was in the 80s, the jump was much higher in much less time. To conclude, the housing market played a massive role in causing the 2008 recession through sketchy lending practices, and investment practices, the housing bubble, and the housing market crash. Today, the economy is permanently shifted back. So there we have 2007, this is our per capita GDP, which actually went down. So our economy lost both the money involved going down and the potential growth we would have had. So while today our economy is right there, without the recession we would be up here. So during this time period, college tuition kept rising, which means a higher percentage of per capita GDP is spent on college tuition now, meaning that you guys are all spending a higher percentage of your money on college than you would be if it weren't for the recession.